Word Roses don't mind this.
Woodwose has allowed us this week. A Woodwose is worse than Gremlins. There's that. Oh, I need to turn my virtual camera on. That's it.
Oh, tits.
What? What do you mean tits?
It's funny because she's talking about tits as well. I'm gonna save that.
Is that the woman who's
Work.
jogging and then talks about her
Yeah,
tits?
yeah. She's having a jog. She's just like, just
Then I want
kidding.
to
I
talk to you
just want to
about
show.
something, and she goes, "Oh no, it's actually about my titties."
And the thing is, right, I've just looked at her face now and noticed like her face is a bit unattractive, but she makes up for it with big tits. So I think for I'm just going to
Do
call
the Yanks
that
know what
big.
tits are?
So to the Americans, tits is roughly translated as a sexual harassment lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it quite rolls off the tongue like the other one. Um, let's see, big tits. Just copy that one, post it in there.
Are we going to talk
And
about Zuma's fear of big tits?
no, because it's really homosexual, and I don't like it. Do you know what I think it is? I think they were all bottle fed as babies, and because as a consequence thereof, they, they've all got a fear a fear and
No,
loathing
I
of
think it
what.
was the lack of page 3.
Well, that too. God, that's a terrible thing. Page 3 was a healthy outlet, and then they were just like, oh no, can't have that anymore. Fuck you very much.
Anyway, we were going to talk about something else quickly before we get on to the main event. You were
What?
talking about something
Wisbit?
before we started. Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
Ha
I
ha
have
this
some
away, ha
bit.
ha that away, ha ha this away, bye oh bye. Do you remember that?
I have some barely repressed memories of this quite disturbing show where they just the intro is just a reading of Aleister Crowley's Book of Magic and talking about and like Wisbit's got a seal of Solomon on the cone. He's a wizard's hat, which is talking, but he hasn't got a rim. And yeah, just the seal of Solomon used to
So what's the seal of
seal
Solomon?
away.
Because I'm looking at it
So
and
the
all I can see is stars and moons. Or is it the way they're
so
arranged?
the seal of Solomon is a sigil used to contain demons. And in the Bible, King Solomon, he trapped demons and he got them to do infernal work for him, building a temple. And you see, King Solomon wasn't going to be the king because he had an older brother. And the firstborn son is the first in line to the throne, but that's before he murdered his brother so that he would ascend to the throne. So why is King Solomon the
I
murderer,
think you can sort of see
necromancer?
it. Is that the thing there? I've just put it up.
uh yeah, oh well, you can see it on the top of his hat, that
They
thing
seem
up
to have
there.
scrubbed it off on other images.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that's supposed
but
to be
no.
like new Whizbit or something. I think there seems to be a newer version of Whizbit.
Yeah, so there was the Wisbit costume changed in later series, but in
Yeah,
the first
that's
series,
when the Solomon thing came on. It's actually the inverse of what you think it is of it.
right? Because I'm saying the Seal of Solomon was like that.
No,
That's,
it was put
I mean,
on later. So look at that Whizbit I've just put up there.
right. That one there is a five-pointed star. It's a pentagram. That's not the Seal of Solomon. The Seal of Solomon is a six-pointed star.
Ah, right. So I don't see
Yeah,
that on any of the pictures.
yeah, yeah. But also, this is from the 2007 reboot, which I don't think came to
Ghostbusters.
pass.
Ah, I
because it was
found
an
it.
80s
I
show.
think I've found it.
Mm.
There's a picture of the back of his head.
You know, in answer to this question of where them aliens at, they don't talk to us because we're more interested in talking about this obscure
Oh, there's
children,
more than one
ostensibly,
Seal of Solomon on him. Hold on.
ostensibly a children's TV show, but it's really about like summoning demons and magic
Hobbit.
and
Oh shit. Oh, is it a fucking Ian? That better not be a fucking GIF.
Jaffiffies.
Well, it's a JPEG, so why is it not showing up?
How am I supposed to know what a JPEG is? I just want to print the damn file.
It's being all screwy with me.
Do I know? Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? I just want to print the damn file.
Yeah, but I found another picture with it. Yeah, so it was created by Paul Daniels as well, wasn't it?
But Paul Daniels and Bill
not
Murray.
majorly known for being an occultist, though, is he?
What? Paul Daniels, the magician, a member of the Magic Circle, not known for being an occultist.
Are you saying
One could argue that not being known for being an occultist means you're a successful occultist.
Are they saying Mungo Jerry wrote the Whizbit theme?
Yes.
There's YouTube, Mungo Jerry Whizbit YouTube.
Well, if I got it right, Bill Murray managed Mungo Jerry.
Mungo Jerry, obviously, who are famous for doing the drink driving song.
Yes. In the summertime when you're drinking and driving.
Yeah.
And you're driving and drinking, and you're drinking and driving. Have a drink, have a drink, have a drink, have a drive.
And if it's poor bird, just fuck her and leave her.
And if you're having a drink, have a drive, have a drink, have a drive. They encourage people to be relaxed when driving. They were trying to reduce road rage, which, let's face it, that's the real danger on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. We here at Fortean Words disavow road rage. If you're going to be angry on the road, don't be on the road. And if you have to be on the road, consider not being on the road. There we go. That's the help.
Don't be a cycling Mikey.
Yeah.
He's a very angry man, isn't he?
Nobody should be a cycling Mikey. I mean, if I was cycling Mikey, I too would be very angry.
If you are cycling Mikey, try not to be cycling Mikey.
And if you are, seek psychiatric help.
Oh, at least some medical help about your balance.
Well, yeah, that's the ask the doctor if cycling's right for you, because I don't think it is. So aliens, where are they at then? Why are they all hiding from us, or are they? But seriously, where are all of them? So I urge you, I'm going to summarise it, right? And then I'll read it into things. So, as we know, the literal linchpin, cornerstone, bastion, stronghold of truth and not exaggerate stories at all, 4chan's X forum. There was a guy there saying, "Hey, I work in the." He doesn't call it XCOM, but I'm going to call it XCOM. I work in the EU XCOM, and I deal with aliens, and basically there's this non-intervention policy with mankind, and some of the aliens are benign, some are malicious, and the non-intervention policy is not forever. It is going to come to an end.
There was also the deal between, I can't remember which president was, and the Pleiadians. Did he do the deal with? And he said you can take a few, but just don't take the piss.
Yeah, I think we've alluded to this in previous episodes as well, where especially when we did the 3-part special about the exsanguination, because that was weird.
Yeah,
that was really weird. So the thing is, the malicious aliens, they, from my understanding of it, and I don't have the details.
Oh, we did.
They
Actually, you can refer back to our previous episode where we did the runners and riders, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm alluding the malicious aliens. They see us like livestock. So I think we've covered that before, in the sense that
aren't there also they're also the ones that are jealous of us because we've still got souls and they got rid of theirs.
Yeah, I think I've heard that with the Greys as well. It's not just that we got souls; it's that we've got free will, whereas they don't. They're sort of like a biological robot,
Mm.
whereas we think of a robot as being like circuits and a mechanical thing, but they're just like a different sort of robot.
Can't
But
rotate an apple in their head.
well, I mean, maybe they can rotate an apple in their head, but they haven't got the free will to do so. They'll
Do you
only
think we should
rotate
still
an apple
defund
in
the
it.
EU?
So, in summary, the guy was saying, look, they are there, but and this is the bit where I'm sort of like a bit dismissive of his truthful and honest account. Trust me, bro, I can't give any more details because he was saying, well, look, the benign aliens in the form of Jesus Christ came to Earth and put an end to the malicious aliens
Dom's
meddling
being
with
attacked by murder hornets, by the way, Hobbit.
and well, there's going to be a homicide then of the murder hornets.
The
And
CIA are attacking Dom with robot murder hornets.
yeah, what does Dom know that the CIA wants to stop him talking
Mm.
about? So yeah, there was basically sort of one faction of aliens, or maybe it's more than one faction of aliens, says no, mankind should be left to figure things out as they go along and not be predated on, and the other ones say, well, we want to put a stop to that. And there's probably some sort of allegory there in mythology with vampires and such things, evil giants that well these are creatures which shouldn't be here, and the only reason they're here is because they want to exploit us.
Well, there's
So
the unified theory of the paranormal, the fact that where some people think that UFOs, ghosts, everything, it's all the same phenomena.
I think it could be summarized as like there's nice things and there's nasty things, and
Mm.
they're a bit hard to explain because unfortunately due to their nature they're hidden. Um, but that I guess that's why we talk about it. So I think I will do the reading of this what this guy's saying, the EU disclosure thing. Because occasionally there's people and they do disclosures in little weird ways
Well,
for whatever reason.
it's kind of weird because they've gone through the other way now, haven't they? Where they don't care, they'll just throw it out there because even if you do find it, they'll just deny it.
Well, that's where I thought this is quite good about the way he sort of says it. He says, well, look, it's coming to a close pretty soon. That's why more information is getting released. And I think what they're saying, the reason why people would be up in arms and terrified if aliens were announced is because it's like, yeah, the aliens are here and they're malicious, they're not benign. So they are, and I think the other sort of thing about was that it's like because their technology is so advanced, it might as well be magic. We don't really have a counter to that. So what sort of defense can you do, if any? So this guy, he calls himself an ECAS researcher. Don't know what that means, and he says EU UAP leak. So UAP is the new gender neutral term for UFO. He says not military, not aliens. UAPs are terrestrial, just not ours in the way you think. Earth isn't just a planet.
Well, oh, I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know what ECAS are. Is that
Neither do I.
Is that ECAS double S or ECAS ECA? It could be anything.
Right. So I will post the link again. I post all the links
It
by
could
the
be
way
anything
in the
from disability support to an award-winning company that provides environmental compliance services.
yeah. So I don't think it's going to be any of that sort of stuff. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, here's the EU extraterrestrial research body. I don't think it's going to be called
Oh,
that
I think I
somehow.
found it. If it's part of the EU, it's got to be ECAS 2CV parts.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Now,
They've
carrying on.
reverse engineered UFOs to get, and they've got
I,
2CV
I
parts.
think you're losing the forest for the trees here. This poster he goes by the name ECAS researcher.
Oh, okay.
So Not military, not aliens. Perhaps a terrestrial. Yeah, I said that bit. Let's try and sort of get on with this because we only got 2 hours, Hemi. There's a structure deep in the Atlantic inside the Bermuda Triangle. It wasn't built by us. It formed through the planet itself. The materials aren't entirely extraterrestrial, brackets some are, but they're not standard geology either. Think of it like a technological organ, brackets, a planetary blood cell, formed over a longitudinal horizon. I mean, already I'm reading this first bit, I'm just going like, oh, okay, right, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, he's
Well,
lost me
what's a
now.
longitude? What's a longitudinal horizon? Well, first of all, I'm going to look up longitudinal because I'm just thinking, well, I know what a horizon is. So that thing flat earthers get upset about. Right, longitudinal means running lengthwise rather than across.
Yeah.
So it runs lengthwise rather than across the horizon. Right, that's really shed some light on the longitudinal horizon. There's a second structure on the other side of the planet under the Indian Ocean. We found it after an anomalous gravimetric readings in the 90s, same signature. UAPs use both locations. They're not visiting Earth, they're using it. They move through it, not over it. Other species
Interesting.
come in.
Interesting thing. You haven't seen Man of Steel, have you?
No.
Oh right. Well, it's just when the Kryptonians do their world engine, the other part of it's in the Indian Ocean, which is kind of weird. I just wonder because some of this stuff seems to map onto films for some reason, doesn't it?
Well, they do the plausible deniability. They tell you what's going on in films. I always like how in was it that King Kong film where we're gonna go into Shambhala through the Hollow Earth ports in Antarctica. Oh, okay then. I know it's Godzilla versus King Kong. That's what it was. So
It's
anyway,
Godzilla
who
X
else used?
Kong, isn't it? I don't
Oh,
know why they've
okay.
changed it to
Who-
X.
Now, UAPs use both locations. So before then, it was known as King Kong, Twitter, Godzilla,
Yeah,
because Twitter is now known as
that
X.
was the old name.
UAPs use both locations. That's its dead name. The planet is alive in a way we haven't modelled yet. We're late to this realization. I will not be around much longer. I'll answer what I can. So let's go on to the next one.
Oh.
Oh, there's
Why
people
might not be
asking
around
questions.
much longer? Is he going to die or what?
He's going to get anal probed by the Alemans. So next one, ECAS researcher. So what's he replying to? He's so our planet is actually alive. It's a big wet. It's a big wet rock, and we're the moss on top. You're not wrong, but it's more complex than the Gaia style metaphors people like to throw around. The Earth exhibits characteristics consistent with what you call an emergent autopoietic system. Let's look up what auto. Yeah, exactly. Let's have an um, autopoietic. Autopoiesis. The term autopoiesis, from Greek auto, self, mnemonic, poiesis, creation, production, or one of several current theories of life, is a system capable of producing and maintaining itself by creating its own parts. So, I mean, a lot of life is autopoiesis. Great. I love this guy. Well, okay. So some people like to say, "Well, I'm very intelligent because I use these words you don't use.
Yeah,
I use
I
big
like to
people
use long
words.
words.
Self-producing, self-regulating, capable of maintaining an internal equilibrium via feedback loops we haven't fully mapped." Oh, so he goes on to explain what autopoietic means. What we're seeing isn't life in the cellular biology sense. It's something close to systemic sentience. Think litho-ecological cognition distributed across geophysical processes. All right, so now on the one hand, I could dismiss this as that's a load of fancy talk bollocks. But on the other hand, I'm going to say, you know what? Piezoelectricity,
He's not exactly aiming this one at the
semiconductors.
boobs, is he?
Yeah, I'm going to say that there's probably an inkling of truth in this one. Say it's not complete bollocks, and also Druids and Shinto believe that the Earth's alive and that life goes through these things which we think are inanimate. Anyway, the structures I mentioned, the ones in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, aren't cool. I wonder if this is sort of explaining things like the Giant's Causeway, which look artificial, but maybe they are completely natural. But, well, when I say natural, as in they're not man-made structures. They are made by the Earth itself. But I still think the Giants made it because I think, well, that's the story we got. Might as well be Giants. Um, the structure dimensions, the one in the Atlantic and Indian Ocean, cool, but they behave like adaptive nodes. Their internal composition includes ferroic lattice anomalies. Oh, what? So in other words, it's got a bit of iron in there. Non-local resonant properties and isotopic ratios that don't conform to meteorite. It doesn't conform to meteors or terrestrial origin models. We're talking about formations that exhibit decision-like behavior in reaction to certain electromagnetic or kinetic events. Think planetary scale immune response. So yes, if you're imagining Earth as a living entity and us as surface epiphytes, right? What's an epiphyte? I imagine that means like it's a thing that lives on the host body.
Yeah,
Epiphytes are plants
this guy's
that
kind
grow.
of. I don't know. If I was to be bullshitting this, I'd use as many big words as possible and try not to explain it properly.
Yeah, because it's to bamboozle an audience. So an epiphyte is a type of plant that grows on another plant, or a
So like
plant-like organism.
mistletoe, isn't it?
Yeah, or wisteria. That's growing on our apple tree at the moment. I can't get to it because it's from the neighbour's garden, so I can chop it back. The reality is far more disturbing. Oh no, he doesn't say that. He says the reality is more disturbing. We're not just moss. We're part of a reactive layer, one that gets pruned, rerouted, or ignored depending on how it interacts with the system's deeper imperatives. And then what's he responding to next? He says, so this question is, when I touch my pee enough when white pee comes out, is that elements? More seriously, AMAs, which AMAs are Ask Me Anythings, are nearly always action role play. Is it a live action role play? Because the thing is, right, if you're just doing stuff on the forum, that's not live action, is it? That's typing.
That's just role
Live
play.
action
That's just
is
role play. Role play.
yeah, yeah. It's just role play. The LA part of your role play, unless you're specifically saying like, oh, I'm role playing in LA, then you could say it's an LA role play. But anyway, the LA part in LARPs is a bit redundant. Just call it role play. Think you have something valuable to share on this topic or any other X related. You think you have some valuable info you hope, and blah blah. So he says, I have clearance within specific parameters to post this. I chose 4chan over other solutions to take less of an administrative load on me, as have others. So what does he go on and say
I bet he's had
next?
a few administrative loads on him, isn't he? Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. So the planet is alive. What now? What's going on? It's not aliens. It's a planet that's disarming nuclear weapons.
Does he
And
know
he
about
goes on
disarming
to
the bog roll in a day?
yeah, well, that was elements. Not quite that simple. The disarmament events aren't being caused by Earth directly, but the system, what we call what we all call geoconsciousness substrate interface
Oh,
(GCSI).
fucking hell, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
always banging
yeah,
on
you
about
know.
whatever you just said.
I mean, if there's one thing which everybody knows in common, it's the geoconscious substrate interface. It reacts
Always
to
banging on about
existing.
it.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I mean it's a common subject amongst the chattering classes because
Yeah.
you see, whenever there's an existential scale threat, the way an immune system responds to cellular anomalies, it's not moral ideological, it's regulatory.
Has he
UAPs,
talked
they're
about
not the
like all those
planet.
floods in Bangladesh? Is he being a little bit racist here?
Well, he's not being he's not explicitly stating that example, but at the same time, occasionally, you know how like if you're constipated, eventually your body sort of has a response and it flushes all the shit out.
Yeah.
It, I'm thinking the Earth has got flooding to wash the shit out occasionally. Uh, so UAPs, they're not the planet, but they are of it. Most of what we classify as UAP, I like UFO, but anyway, are actively, especially around nuclear installations, is being carried out by earthbound constructs that interface with the planet's deep substrate. Some of them operate within mineral dense fault zones, especially where piezoelectric activity is high. They're drawn to areas where we spike the energy profile of the biosphere.
So is he saying that aliens don't have a corporeal body? I'm going to carry on talking bollocks like he is, but they don't have a
Uh,
corporeal form. Is this what he's saying?
I wouldn't go as far as to say that. But let's read on and then let's find out what
Well,
he's
if they're
saying. So,
created from piezo electricity, or is the piezo
hmm.
electricity creating some sort of gateway? Like, it's not
Oh
really.
no, no. He's saying some of them operate within mineral dense fault zones, especially where because you get a lot of. Here's the thing: I had a speculation about it, I was talking to my dad about it. I said, you know how they got these birds and other creatures? They all flee these areas that are about to have an earthquake, and I thought to myself, yeah, that's because where the fault lines are slipping, you have a lot of piezoelectricity, and they must pick up on that and go, oh yeah, it's time to start fleeing now.
Hmm.
For whatever reason, we can't pick up on piezoelectricity. Well, I say, I keep calling that. No, just electricity. But in that case, why don't they flee from power? But I guess it's kind of different. Like alternating current's different to the big static pulses you get from a.
It doesn't come from. Is it too regular or something? But you have those mass events with like dolphins and things, don't you? Where they kind of throw themselves onto, like a load of them will throw themselves onto a beach, won't they, God? I think a lot of what we do probably disrupts a lot of the natural world.
Yeah, well, I think that's the submarine communications. They make these. Well, there's a couple of things. The sonar. If there's any divers nearby the sonar, it will kill them, like the tragic accident that happened a few years ago. Because the sonar pulses are incredibly loud. I think like 180 decibels, and that's probably doing a lot to disrupt.
I assume they're supposed they travel a certain distance. I think that's why they have to be so loud because they like tail
Yeah.
off, do they? Is that how it works?
Well, I mean, it's like searchlights. If the
Yeah.
more powerful your searchlight is, the clearer and further you can see things.
Mm.
It's same as sonar. Um, all right. So he goes on to carry. It says. They're drawn to areas where we spike the energy profile of the biosphere, mainly nuclear tests, large scale EM emissions, even mass trauma events. Yeah, I mean all of those things they'll put a big
They didn't do
they'll
fuck
have
all in
ripples.
1945, though, did they? Hiroshima.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
did.
yeah.
They did
Oh,
fuck all there, didn't
and didn't do it again with Nagasaki.
they? Mm.
Yeah, so in 1983 we registered a spontaneous system-wide failure across 5 silo networks in the former USSR. The warheads were electronically disarmed via non-invasive signal interference. We reverse engineered the logs and found temporal offsets, inputs occurring microseconds before any known signal transmission. It wasn't jamming, it was anticipatory suppression. The signature matches the gravimetric and EM anomalies we've seen in both oceanic sites I mentioned earlier. The technical jargon in this is almost like some of the best episodes of Star Trek. It's good. So no, it's not aliens disarming our nukes. It's a regulatory function carried out through mechanisms tied into the Earth's deeper architecture. Oh, if only Fraser is here, we could have begun like, see Fraser, nukes aren't fake. It's just that the Earth has got. It's like like your immune system. You get ill, right? You get cold or something, and like at first, the virus has got the upper hand, and you're really suffering, and then your immune system, starts to build up a fever, and you eventually start getting better.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening. So, like the first nuclear bomb blast that went off, it was like, oh
Was
god,
it?
this is
No, it was the King.
horrible.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think what film it was. I think it was the Kingsman, with the Gaia theory. The fact that they think that the reason for their excuse is the reason for global warming is is that the Earth is currently going through the fever stage, and that's why it's so hot.
Oh well, that just sounds like a load of misanthropy, if you ask me. I mean, the fact is, if you look into the Melanchthonians, there is periods where the Earth's orbit becomes more or less eccentric, and I
You
imagine
see, I
that
remember
yeah,
being
you
taught this as a kid. If we go a degree either way, it could mean like the difference between freezing or boiling to death.
yeah, well, that's why we got periods like in the medieval era where it's very warm, and then in the 17th century it's incredibly cold, and that's
Yeah,
why the
because in the
Thames
medieval era,
frozen over.
we used to make our own wine, didn't we? I think.
Well, there's people in Kent now which are growing vines, but even back in the Roman period, they were growing grapes right up to Hadrian's Wall. I mean, can you imagine you're in Northumberland and people have got vineyards there?
Imagine that
And
southern
like
Scotch lads.
Greenland actually had forests. There was enough sunshine in Greenland to have forests. It wasn't just permafrost and tundra.
Mm.
Um, so it's not aliens disarming Nuke's regulatory function. But what we do know is when we get too loud, too fast, or too unstable, it steps in and it doesn't always ask. Consider it the first true disclosure. All right, so that's an interesting. So the planet is not just an unconscious ball of rock in which we all inhabit. It's an organism much like we are, and occasionally when we do things which are like it has an immune response to it. And so what's he responding? Oh yeah, there's a person who says, "Can you use simple words, please? I do not have a PhD." And he goes, "I will retain verbiage only to have clarity around technical aspects. I aim to reduce in all other aspects." Right, so here's the thing, okay? If you're trying to
He might
teach
as well have
people,
just gone, I'm sorry you're thick. Maybe you
yeah,
shouldn't be reading this post.
here's the thing, right? Unless like you're specifically teaching a class about technical language to bring them up to speed, you should teach in a way where your audience can understand things. And if you're not doing that, it's like then you leave it to others, which then leads things up to interpretation. So if you want to make your information clear and concise, you need to use normal people words instead of big people words. To
What
quote
was
Ricky
it?
from Trailer Park Boys.
What was it? Einstein said. He said, if you can't use the correct language to explain it to a dumb person, you probably don't know as much as you think you do.
Well, that's the other thing. Like the important thing about genius is you can explain stuff in simple ways. You can explain complicated subjects in simple ways to others so that they'll be able to see it. And that's the beauty of genius. And then, unfortunately, you get some people, they're not really genius, but they want to be seen as intellectual, so they'll use big people words.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to say something like, I will retain verbiage, clarity around technical aspects. Just, it's like, if I was to say,
AI from the future.
if I no, because the thing is with Grok, I say Grok with AI systems, you can say, look, me no understand English so well. Can you explain it like in pidgin, please?
Yeah.
And then you know the it would be like, wetin they make alien go and say unga bunga happen. Wetin the alien throw poo poo out the UAP window. Don't top poo poo out them window, because
Woman, how was it? Woman, they throw the poo poo out the window. Come trap for window. Yeah, it's come trap for
alien.
window, innit? I can't remember the fucking.
Oh well, yeah, it's a foreign language to me. So what's he responding to next? He says something that's actually very interesting. What's he saying? Oh no, that's an anonymous person. Uh, 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 uh. So what else are we gonna die? Someone says post-proof retarded homosexual person. Um, Ayla Mouse, so many leaks, something is definitely happening soon. ECAS research writes back to us though. I love story time, it's brilliant. Uh, are outerplanetary UAPs a thing, or is it all from our own planet? Yes, they exist, but they are not what people think. Well, that's very helpful.
Got it, Hobbit. Got it. It's. Oh, come on, open it. Woman one throw away poo poo, come trap for window. The greatest ever pigeon story.
It captures the quintessence of BBC Pigeon. You know, they used to have the BBC Pigeon Minute, but they discontinued it after a while. The vast majority of UAPs are local. I'm going to continue using that term because this is very silly, isn't it?
Meat man, wait, no get hand, but get 2 master's degrees. He's got no hands, but he's got 2 master's degrees. That's the story.
How does he hold them up? He doesn't.
How does he smell? Terrible.
Yeah, that too. How does he wank? He doesn't.
Sextile brothel,
So,
wait them just open, they fully booked for weeks.
so that's just like a place where you rent a fleshlight, right?
Yeah, basically. Or Bonnie Blue. You seen Bonnie Blues now, big mates with Andrew
Is this like
Andrew Tate.
radio rentals for sex toys? So anyway,
Probably
you
more like Bright House.
aliens, where are they from? Let's carry on with story time. So story time, right? The vast majority of you, I'm just a local, Earth origin or at
Another
least
good news
Earth
story from
linked.
India: gay sex. Why India Supreme Court say homosexual day legal?
Oh, okay. They interface with structures beneath the surface but not in orbit. But there are objects we tracked coming from beyond Earth orbit, but some from deep space. The problem is they behave like they already know the planet. Why is that a problem? In 1998, a classified payload aboard STS-91 picked up an
I've got
object
one more.
entering
This is a
Earth.
hard hitting headline. 50 criminals out. Timbu orders service chiefs IGP as he visits victims of Bennu killings.
So, what is STS-91? Let's have a look at this because I think that STS-91 was the 24th flight of Discovery and the final space shuttle mission to the Mir space station. Right. Okay. So that's what it's going on about. Right. Um, so, a classified payload aboard STS-91 picked up an object entering Earth space at 147 kilometers an hour. Oh, 147,000 kilometers an hour. No heat signature, no deceleration. It maintained a fixed
Oh shit!
distance over
I've just
South.
seen something that's not very good, Hobbit. WhatsApp one
Can I
monetized the
get
app for
through
users all
one
over the world.
sentence, please?
Sorry, last word.
South Atlantic for 11,
They want to monetize
11
WhatsApp,
minutes.
Hobbit.
Ah, great. I'm going to look forward to adverts when I'm trying to have a phone call.
Yeah,
11 minutes for completely off censor. No splash,
stop
no
it.
atmospheric entry, just gone. That position overlapped with a known anomaly corridor tied to the Indian Ocean structure. Coincidence isn't on the table. Oh, that's a bit of speculation on this person's behalf. Another case. In 2003, the Cassini probe recorded an object accelerating within Titan's upper atmosphere, then exiting at a 72-degree angle with no thermal plume, no ionization trail. The data was buried under a generic instrument error. Ah! I think I covered this story. Do you remember we briefly talked about like Titan, like there was a weird radio anomaly coming there, and we were having a big laugh about what could cause a natural X-ray or FM. No, it was an FM signal anomaly from Titan. Do you remember
Yes,
that?
I think I remember
Yeah,
that.
we
Was
were
that
talking,
in
and
Unexplained Mysteries?
it might have been, but I think it might have been something I was reading about as well. Like, hey, look, here's an FM signal coming from Titan. It's like
Let's have a look.
I know enough about frequency modulation to know you can't make that naturally.
Oh my god,
And
there's a car called the Nissan Titan, so half of the results are talking about that.
good. Well, that that's what you get punished for using a West. I now use Yandex to do things because I typed in 4chan archives, and it just kept coming up with like, oh, 4chan's a very bad website. You shouldn't go on it. It's like, look, I know what 4chan is. I don't need a Snopes explanation of why 4chan's bad. I just want to read story time. So anyway, um, the data was buried under a generic
Oh yeah, so
instrument error
NASA confirms
label.
FM radio signal is coming from Jupiter's largest moon. It was Ganymede, Hobbit.
Well, Titan is a moon of Saturn.
Yeah, but I'm saying the story I've found is for Ganymede.
We've since matched the exit vector to magnetotelluric pulses we record. So, in other words, you've got magnetism caused by Earth plates. Pulses we record in the Pacific plate around the same time. Yeah, telluric is that. That's funny though, because there's a mineral called telluride. Probably something different. Around the same time. Again, the signature was familiar. So yes, there are non-terrestrial UFOs, but they don't behave like explorers or scouts. They behave like returning systems. We will likely won't perish in 2027. It'll be up to us what happens beyond that year. I cannot post any identifying marks or anything pertaining to my actual identity yet. That will start to change in 2026. Oh, watch this space. We'll come back next year to it, shall we? Um, what else is he going to say? Oh yeah, he's got a bit more here. Oh wow, this is actually a really long thing. We might come back to it another time. Uh, we believe the crafts carry autonomous intelligence and print. Oh yeah, claims it's not extraterrestrial, yet he emits parts of the material are not terrestrial. Are you a retard? We believe the crafts carry autonomous intelligence imprinted onto them for material retrieval. Most of the legitimate high-velocity, non-ballistic UFOs
So they're
track
saying they're like
beyond
AI
lower.
drones or something. Is that what he's trying to say?
Well, I'm thinking, like, for example, we don't describe our white blood cells as AI drones, do we? But they do operate autonomously, and they've got a degree of intelligence because they know how to weed bad cells from good cells.
Yeah.
Like they'll surround bacteria and viruses like an amoeba. Um, so most of the legitimate high velocity, non ballistic UFOs beyond low Earth orbit fall into one of three categories based on trajectory modelling and isotopic propulsion residue. Okay, so you've got sublunar return patterns, solar periphery vectors, and intrasolar constructs. We're starting to understand this phenomenon originating in a way we never defined previously. The lines between local and non-local, native and foreign, collapse when you're dealing with a system that doesn't think in three dimensions or within time as we perceive it. Earth is no longer classified as a planet, but a node according to frameworks internally published 2 months ago. That will become clear in the future. I will refer us to years ago, and I think this was like 2021 or 22. We did a
Right. So
Fortean Words.
isotopic fuel comes from. So have you ever heard of Bob Lazar, the guy who reverse engineered a UFO?
In other words, they got nuclear reactor jets.
Yeah. So element 115 has a stable isotopic form known as Moscovium. Moscovium is that -299 or -299, which has 115
Dash
protons.
299, yes, it's the isotope of moscovium.
Yeah, so it has 115 Actually, do you want to read this because you'll understand it a lot better than I will.
Not really.
Okay, so it has
It's not.
115 protons, 184 neutrons in the nucleus, which is fuel. Element 115, strong
Right.
nuclear
What I'm
force,
trying to
which is
say
to
there
exterminate the
is,
boundary of the nucleus. I just read
Hemi,
that.
Hemi. It's like saying, oh, I've got a lorry here which runs on diesel. Well, I've got a lorry here that runs on LPG. It's this is a sort of detail which is it's I'm sure it's very interesting, but I'm not really interested in how to make a nuclear powered flying saucer at the moment. But maybe we'll do that in a future 14 words episode. We'll have a live one like an Annika's challenge. We'll make a
We'll make it out.
Muscov
I may make it out of smoke alarms.
we'll make a Muscovite powered flying saucer. So now, here's the thing. 4 years ago, and I think it's about 4 years ago, we did an episode of Fortean Words, and we were talking about this interesting clip. It was a French member of European Parliament, and he was talking about in the speech. And I asked my mum, I said, "Look, my French isn't as good as yours. Can you just confirm?" He says, "We are welcoming our members not just of other nations, but other planets."
Yeah.
And my mum looked at the clip and she said, "Oh, that's weird. Yeah, he's talking about other planets. I mean, other planets is in planets which aren't Earth." And he said, "Well, he didn't give the detail. He just said other planets. But yeah, that's what you think it would be." Um, so when there's talking about Earth being a node, now here's a bit of speculation which I think is interesting. Uh, um, this is going to go into my what is your lorry run diesel LPG bit. What if like space not real? Huh?
Well, I was actually
Okay.
just filling in a bit of detail
Yeah.
for the listeners.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What if space not real? And what I'm saying by that is like, okay, so these UFOs, they are flying from one planet to another, but the space is, they don't go through space because there's nothing there. It's just like you disappear from one planet and then
If
you
if they're
appear in
if
another
they're
planet.
dimensionally traveling, they would need enormous amounts of energy as well, though, wouldn't they?
I don't know.
When they're
Would
traveling,
they?
when they're traveling vast distances or between dimensions, they'd still need a vast amount
Ah,
of
but
energy,
what I'm
wouldn't
trying to say is that they're not actually traveling vast distances. They just make like a wormhole that goes
they? Well,
from
that's what I'm saying.
one
That's what
planet
I'm
to
saying.
another.
Oh, okay then.
Oh, you're saying the
Yeah,
wormhole would take
that's
a lot
quite
of
an old
energy?
theory though, isn't it? You know, it's
Yeah.
literally like the theory from Event Horizon, isn't it? Where
I wonder if
instead of
like
you traveling between A and B, you get A
yeah.
and B to travel to you, and then you zip through that hole, don't you?
Well, you cut out all the space in the middle,
Yeah,
so you just you shorten points A and B
yeah,
together. So what if because I'm quite happy to accept the notion, right? So yeah, to open up a new wormhole portal, that takes a lot of energy. Much like making a new railway, that takes a lot
but
of energy and
okay,
effort.
okay then. I've just had like the first time I've ever thought about this. It's the first time
Yeah,
I've ever thought about it. Are you
careful
warping
now.
space? Are you warping space just for yourself, or are you warping space for everybody?
Well, okay, so I'm going to use the railway analogy,
How do
right?
you differentiate between warping space for yourself and accidentally like warping space for everybody?
Right, so this is where I'm going to use the railway analogy, and what this actually will answer your question because I think that's a good question actually. So you got you're building a railway, and it takes a lot of effort, and then you go, oh well, look, there's this hill in the way.
Yeah,
We're going to dig through it, and also there's this valley here, and we're going to build a viaduct over it so
yeah,
that the railway is nice and smooth. And then once the railway's built, it's actually quite easy to get from point A to B because you've got a train that goes on it, and it's good. But the thing is, to everybody else that's involved, it's like, oh, I can't walk over that hill anymore because there's this great big cleft in the middle, and they put fences up so you don't walk onto the railway tracks.
mm,
And then you have to go and find a bridge or something. So yeah, the warping warps it space for everybody else. And what I'm saying with these wormholes is that yeah, they probably do take a fair bit of energy to open up in the first place. But once it's open, it's like a railway track. It sort of stays there more or less. Probably needs a bit of maintenance, just like a railway.
mm.
So anyway, let's get on to this thing. I do not directly work on lunar analysis. Brief to understand the position of the moon as an anchor over a satellite. According to reports of another branch, this planet was not able to progress evolutionary states due to the hostile environment on the surface. Some within the program referred to this as a peripheral buffer. I mean, that's a lot of fancy terms which might mean so. We'll have to store that away as, oh, that's an interesting piece of information. Maybe we'll find something useful in the future about that.
Yeah.
Much like that bloke
Is it
in EU.
Chekhov's abandoned planet?
Yeah. Chekhov's useful bit of information, which might come in useful sometime. I'm saying, much like that bloke in the EU Parliament talking about other planets, like, oh, that's an interesting throwaway statement. I wonder what that could. Um, right. So what else does he go on? He says, "OP, are you schizophrenic LARPer, stunning and braver, who thinks she's a demi-human, or are you part of that Discord group?"
Dom says aliens are
No,
just LARPing demons.
yes. Except, is it role playing demons? No, I would not spend so much time frequenting a forum that will
And
likely
the
not
demons
exist
are
in a few
LARPing
years.
as aliens, aren't
Yeah. Well, Lamb certainly was. Live your life, contribute to society, and be a force of positive change. Oh, okay, Greta Thunberg. What's this question? Cosmic consciousness. The Earth is
they?
like
How
a single
dare you say
neuron.
it? How dare you?
Well, the sun is probably a better analog for neurons. The Earth is probably more like the proteins that are for synaptic stimulation. Feel free to call me dumb for saying that. I like this LARP. Actually, not too far off. We stop thinking in terms of planets and start thinking in terms of functions. The sun isn't a neuron, though. It's just too central and too fixed. It's more like a pulse generator, more like a timekeeper. Its solar output isn't just radiation, it's structured information. Earth isn't a neuron either. You're closer when you said a protein, which is a catalytic layer that enables transformation. Yeah, proteins are pretty interesting. They're the factories which assemble all the tissues in the body. Though a synaptic modulator is almost dead on, In this model, planets are processing nodes. Some do computation, others store. Earth is an interface node. It's designed or evolved to allow cross-system access. The structures beneath the crust, especially the ones in the Atlantic, that routing architecture, they let other systems, which are civilizations, entities, intelligence, take your pick. I'm just going to hang on. Let me switch to the other monitor. Where am I? Take your pick. Interact this domain without disturbing the biosphere directly. When we detonate nukes or push the biosphere into chaos, we overload the synapse and the system responds. It's not about good or evil as we define it. It fits the pattern of a cosmic function more than anything else. And what's he responding to here? I like where this is going, but what do you mean by interact with planet substrate? Are you referring to the crust, the mantle, the lithosphere, the asphenosphere, or maybe just the surface itself? I assume that means atmosphere. Let's have a look at asphenosphere.
Of course, he's not going to say the atmosphere because no, I don't know what the atmosphere is. It's got to be
the asphenosphere is the upper. Oh no, I got it wrong. The asphenosphere is the upper layer of Earth's mantle below the lithosphere, and I assume that means the stone sphere, which has a relatively low resistance to plastic flow. Convention is thought to occur. So, all right, yeah. So that. Oh no! I've lost my. Oh, okay, right. Back to it now. Let's go back to it. He says, no. Okay. When I say interact with the planet substrate, I'm not talking about just the surface or crust. I'm referring to a specific layer in the upper mantle sphere boundary, which is roughly 70 to 200 kilometers deep, where geophysical anomalies concentrate. This zone behaves like a signal transduction medium. It conducts energy, but not just heat or vibration structured electromagnetic patterns, often in the. But not just heat or vibration structure. It conducts energy. Right, okay. It conducts energy, often in the extremely low frequency and ultra low frequency range. We have found polarized mineral alignment inconsistent with plate tectonics, isotope ratios like helium-3 and xenon-129.
What's polarized?
Polarized means that when, light goes through it in a certain way if it's polarized. So polarized mineral alignments. So in other words, he's saying, well, look, the minerals here, they're all lined up in a certain way. Their polarization's a certain way. And it's not, it can't be explained with natural phenomena like sediment layers or subduction. So it's something else that caused it. And he's saying here that the isotope ratios of things like helium-329 that suggests
Hobbit. What does polarized mean? To induce polarization or impart polarity to.
That's kind of like saying that. That's circular logic, though. That's everyone knows what polarization is.
Yeah, it's when you polarize it.
So he goes on here to say, and I think we'll probably make this the last one, although there is another one about the Bermuda Triangle I'll read out. So anyway, these isotope ratios suggest artificial separation and gravity gradient anomalies with solar wind flux. So I'll try and translate that into English.
Polarized refers to the property of certain waves, particularly electromagnetic waves like light, where the vibrations occur in a specific direction or plane. This can be achieved through various methods, such as using polarizing filters, which allow only light waves vibrating in a certain direction to pass through. So.
Do you know what the weirdest quirks of physics or chemistry was? But we were doing this thing in, and it's actually used in forensics about chirality of molecules, and chirality is it a left-handed molecule or is it a right-handed molecule? Because you can have these molecules and they can be mirror flipped, and I forget what it is, but natural molecules, they have a strong right-handed chirality, and whereas synthetic molecules, like synthetic sucrose, so that's table sugar, they will have the ratio of left-handed to right-handed sometimes 50-50. Now, some chemist in the audience would be like, "Oh, Hobbit, you're talking absolute bollocks. That's not the ratios." Look, I'm really bad when it comes to remembering numbers, but I'm trying to say, for the sake of argument, synthetic molecules can be forensically determined from natural molecules because you can say, well, look, the chirality of this substance is all wrong. One of the reasons I mention that is because and it comes up in, you can use polarized light to look at it. It's just like if you want to find out whether you've got real honey or if somebody's made like a really good counterfeit with inverted sugar syrup, which we also call a golden syrup. What you do is you look under it in the polarized filter, and honey will look in a certain way, and counterfeit honey won't look in the because they say honey is polarized in a certain way because uh, honey, right? It's sweeter than sugar. So if you say sucrose is 100% sweet, something like aspartame is 3,000% sweet. Honey is 163% sweet. And it is sucrose, but because it's polarized in a certain way, it's sweeter than normal sucrose. And I thought, that's so weird. How can it be that just because you've changed because you've shifted the molecule slightly, it's slightly sweeter, and it's like that makes no sense. Well, if I was to speculate, and this is complete speculation, right? Maybe when you shift the honey, it appears to taste sweeter. Like if you were to shift playing notes on the piano, you can make them sound bright or sharp because you're playing a different note.
Yeah, it's like the
But
song
again,
if it's in a major or minor key. Isn't it?
yeah. It's just it's going to have a different flavour to it because it's done in a different tone. But that was just one of the weird like examples I remembered from chemistry about chirality and forensic evidence. Like, I'm not sure how it's going to be used in forensics, but maybe there's like
It
someone
sounds
saying, "Oh, well,
almost
no,
like
this is
like
ah,
so going to the right is like clockwise, isn't it? It's like
yeah."
clockwise is the natural way of being almost, isn't it? It's kind of weird.
Right, here we go. Here's how I know why that chirality comes up in forensics. So let's say you've accused someone of doping and they go, "Oh, no, I've naturally got that much testosterone in my body." You take a urine sample and you analyze the testosterone and you look at it forensically and you go, well, the chirality ratio of your testosterone suggests that you're actually taking artificial testosterone because we know natural testosterone has got this ratio. And the testosterone you got, which is chemically identical to natural testosterone, shows this chirality. So there's an example where you'd use chirality in forensics to determine whether someone's taking drugs. But the reason I mention all this stuff is because we're doing this big thing about oh yeah, resonance with solar wind flux. So in other words, the wind you get from the sun, it varies, much like weather on Earth. You know, sometimes you've got windy days, some calm days. The sun, when it blows its wind
This
on
sounds like
us,
complete
it,
speculation. So do you think
yeah,
so would you say then in if you created a clone, the like chirality would be different?
yeah. Right. So it depends how you're making the tissues in that body for the clone.
Mm.
Because if you're making it in like a surrogate mother, I would say the only way you could tell the difference between the clone body and the real body is you look at the telomere count.
Yeah.
So like here's the thing, you can make a clone and the clone will go through like a normal sort of growth thing. It doesn't. You don't just like immediately have an adult body. You've got to go through the growing. Um,
Yeah.
but
Because I'm just thinking
the
about. Do you remember that Arnie film, The Sixth Day? Do you remember that one where he's a clone and he doesn't know
no.
he's a
Oh,
clone?
actually, is that the one where they're flying those weird futuristic helicopters?
That's the one. Yeah. I was just thinking. I was just
Okay.
thinking about that. Like, would there be a way that you could find out that like someone's one of those clones that's been knocked up in a vat?
So the big thing with clones versus that is its lifespan won't be as long as the original host, because with a clone, the telomeres, which is the end caps on the cells, they're as old as the telomeres in the original body. So when they say one of the reasons you get old age is your telomeres, they start to become more and more frayed, and that means that when your cells copy, there's transcription errors because the telomeres aren't able to protect them, and eventually it gets to a certain point where you're just not able to replicate the cells
So
anymore
would that so
because
say you cloned you now, but you
yeah.
had like a say you started from scratch, you're a baby.
Mm.
That baby would
Yeah, yeah.
then suffer premature aging, would it, or would it just die sooner?
No, so if I was to have a clone of myself, the baby would have a normal, or I say normal childhood. I mean, it's going to be born in the 21st century. It's a bit fucked, but it would have the normal adolescent phase,
Yeah.
and then it will go into adulthood.
Mm.
But its life expectancy would be shortened because its telomeres are, well, let's say for the sake of argument, my telomeres are 40 years old.
Yeah.
So this brand new clone, it might just be like a couple of days old, but its telomeres are already 40 years old.
But
So by the
it won't
time
hit
it
40 until it's finished growing. Then is that what you're saying?
so no, what I'm saying is that by the time this clone becomes 20 years old, it's got the telomeres of a 60-year-old man.
Right.
So by the time it's 40, it's got the telomeres of an 80-year-old man. It'll probably be like the aging then would become accelerated because, like, what's the time when people really sort of get middle aged? Um,
I don't seem to know
anyway,
people getting
that's
later and later now. Do you know? You ever seen you know Beverly Hills Cop, don't you?
yeah. Oh, that's the one with Axel
Taggart.
F.
Do you remember
No,
Taggart, the bald guy that was in it?
no. Taggart.
Apparently
Taggart
Taggart.
was.
No, not Muck
Oh,
Taggart.
okay.
Not Muck Taggart. There's been a
No.
murder.
There's been a wee murder.
There's been a murder. No,
Yeah,
Taggart from that. He was
is
the
wee
bald guy.
murder what
The
the
bald guy.
Scottish
Apparently he was
term
like
for?
35 when he was in that. Like, what happened to people years ago? They used to age like milk, didn't they?
Wow, I just like if you look at films from the 1950s and you've got someone like Humphrey Bogart. I watched The Maltese Falcon the other day, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that man must be in his early 50s. It's like, no, actually, he's 23. Oh, okay, all right,
They've
okay,
seen some
yeah.
shit. Old blokes had seen some shit, I think, as
Hey,
well.
hey, just as brief aside from this thing because we're gonna. I'm soon gonna. This story time might have to wait for it,
Yeah.
but in Scotland, right? If you're describing, let's say you're McTaggart, and you're describing a case of infanticide, which I'll just explain it for like the big wordy people here that don't know. Infanticide means when you kill a little baby. Would
A
you
wee bear.
describe
A wee bear if we're
a
sticking
wee
with the
a,
Scottish
a
thing.
wee a little baby? So if you're in Scotland, right, and you're describing infanticide, say, I'll get my code. Right, so let's carry on with this thing.
Oh no, I didn't hear
Um,
that. You broke up, so I didn't actually hear the
right,
punchline.
would McTaggart describe infanticide as a wee murder?
Oh, that's rough.
Mm,
That's rough. I bet.
yes. It's also current affairs because there's been changes in the infanticide.
I thought it was going
Infanticide
to be
is
a
now
gag about the life expectancy of people from Glasgow.
oh well yeah yeah right. No, I was just saying
I
for
thought you would
those.
say like, is a wee bear? Is it like middle aged?
I just I want to date this podcast with current affairs. Well, infanticide has been legalised in the United Kingdom and Great Britain and
Yeah.
Ireland, and assisting dying is
Actually,
legalised.
Hobbit, it hasn't been
Yeah.
legalised. It's just not illegal.
Oh, it's been decriminalised. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we've
it's been
if a
decriminalised.
mother kills her infant, that's okay. You're right. So, um, so uh. Oh yeah, we've been in the visit. So I'll read this last little bit, and then I think that'll be enough
The
for
worst, the
ECAS.
worst story I've heard about this infanticide thing is the woman who murdered her baby at 39 weeks because it was the product of an affair and she didn't want her husband finding out.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I've heard some fucking rough shit this week.
Yeah, okay, right. So one more story from ECAS researcher. To give a bit more here, in the Atlantic side, the Bermuda Triangle, inside the Bermuda Triangle corridor, what's this he's saying? Oh, yeah. He's still
Is the
responding
Bermuda
to me.
Triangle it's a thing? When's the last time you heard a story out of the Bermuda Triangle?
Wow, this is what I like about this guy. He's actually talking Bermuda
He's bringing them all
Triangles,
back.
you know. You know, we got
You could have told me
somehow
the Bermuda Triangle. I could have started with Barry Manilow. Bermuda
somehow
Triangle. Do you remember that one?
it's like that bit in Star Wars. Somehow the Bermuda Triangle. Right. To give a bit more here, in the Atlantic site, inside the Bermuda Triangle corridor, did sudden local changes in geomagnetic vectoring, essentially a compass drift that predicts solar activity minutes in advance. That's not natural. Oh, so is it because the Bermuda Triangle is like a corridor for these ailermen? That's what causes navigators and stuff to go wrong in the thing.
Yeah, but they were over like completely like alien lands though. But the weird thing is they were still actually. Let's after this. I'll see if I can find a call log, and we'll go through a call log of what the pilot said.
Well, the other bit I like, and then they say, oh, well, look, there's this bit of the Bermuda Triangle called the Sargasso Sea, and occasionally the seaweed there ferments, and you get this methane which just trapped in the ocean floor. But occasionally, some turbulence causes the methane to bubble up, and when you've got a fizzy ocean full of methane, it makes the buoyancy of the ships so bad that they sink. Um, well, I assume if the ships are heavily laden, like Spanish galleons full of gold. Right, so, yeah. The Indian Ocean site is quieter, but it's deeper. During a 1996 Russian-Indian bathymetric scan,
How
sensors
different the
showed...
language was in 1952? Because in 1952, an article in Fate magazine entitled "Sea Mystery at Our Back Door."
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, you see, that our society now has become so sort of overt with these sexual innuendos. We can't really say these terms with a straight face.
Yeah.
You know, we've become a lot more puerile as a society. No, don't get me wrong, right? I really like fart. Okay, I think toilet humour and slapstick is the funniest form of humour, and I'd be willing to fight anybody with a stick if they disagree with me. But we've become a lot more puerile as a society, and I don't think it's to our benefit. So anyway, during a 1986 Russian-Indian bathymetric scan, sensors showed negative sources. The signal returned before it should have. That data was classified immediately. Why does it look designed? Because it behaves predictively, not reactively. The formations don't just exist, they actively respond in only to very specific thresholds of energy, mass movement, or electromagnetic conditions. We've triggered responses using pulsed ELF bursts at extremely low frequency. The return signals weren't noise, they had structure, encoded phase shifts, and patterns. It was terrifying when the team first made the discovery. The planet is actively built to listen. I've seen classified documentation with Nicola give us instructions on how to harness the power of the planet using tectonic energy. When we use too much energy, the planet responds as it has in the past. Great question. I am almost certainly able to provide a competent answer to as much. You know what? What if, like, Tesla's research into harnessing tectonic power, this scalar energy, what if that caused the Tunguska event? So that wasn't a meteorite that was actually like the Earth concentrated a burst of energy in the Tunguska forest and made a massive explosion.
And it went up, not down.
Yeah, because I'm literally thinking like. So here's an example, right? If you want a good example of piezoelectricity, if you've got one of those clicky lighters, the ones that make a spark and go click, what you've got there is a piece of quartz, and you're striking the piece of quartz, and because you're compressing the crystal, it causes a surge of electricity to come out of it, and that causes a lighter. If you've got a flint lighter, it's different. You're rubbing bits of you're rubbing bits of magnesium off it sparks, but a piezoelectricity in the form of a lighter, press it and it causes a spark. And that's my feeling. Like in earthquakes, you've got loads of electricity going up into the air, and it makes the birds and the rats flee because they can sense it. Another example of piezoelectricity: if you put electricity into a quartz crystal frequency response, that makes them suitable for high frequency speakers. Right. So look, we are one third of the way through this big thread. There's a lot of anonymous people saying things. He does do a few more responses, which would probably be good, but I think there's enough here for a part two, if anything. If people are interested to hear more about this thing, so I'm just gonna, because you see, I didn't want to just read this one thread. I did want to talk about the Fermi Paradox, but there was also
Do you want to go over to Flight 19
you see,
quickly? Just to talk about the kind of stuff that
well,
happens in the.
there is there's a summary here. I just can I read the summary? Well, unless you want to read the
Yeah, do
summary
your bit.
because it's
I
on
think it's actually
Twitter.
important.
Yeah. So here we go. And it's a summary of what we've just been reading, right? So a person claimed to have information from the program. ECAS is a branch within a branch in Europe. I am stationed in Italy. Almost all of Europe has been researching this since World War II. With some legacy programs, ECAS has multiple existing pre-World War One. So just to explain, right, there was two threads, but the other one doesn't exist in the archives. It's been deleted, so I assume the information in there was a bit too juicy. So he says all would come clear before 2029. 2026 is the year doors of knowledge will be open. Scientists briefed on the full gravity of the situation already work to get the world speed by entering private industry. The general idea is not to incite panic. I have been briefed that there are multiple species here. According to the research of ECAS, the two major facilities in our oceans. Am I reading that right? My eyesight, unfortunately, is getting worse. Have been created by our planet, or at least very tuned to the next local cosmic environment, in ways we do not yet understand, which propagate through our planet. We believe the crafts carry autonomous intelligence on material retrieval. Most are legitimate high-velocity, non-ballistic. Oh yeah, we're repeating a bit there. So this is just a repeat of what has been saying. But anyway, long story short, we in the United States work with the Palladians. Other nations work with other entities, and the Earth itself is alive and it's intelligent. But how do you communicate with it? I mean, it's a bit like when a crow sort of repeats certain words that you've said to it because it likes those words, repeats it. It's like there is an intelligence there, but we can't really have conversations with crows. So, aliens, where are they? Fermi Paradox, what's that about? Do you want to read the Fermi Paradox? Because I think it would be there's a wiki. I'll give you the Wikipedia link, and you can read that because my voice needs a rest.
Oh yeah. Fermi Paradox. So the Fermi Paradox is the discrepancy between the lack of conclusive evidence of advanced extraterrestrial life and the apparently high likelihood of its existence. Those affirming the paradox generally conclude that if the conditions required from life to arise for non-living matter as permissive as the available evidence on Earth indicates, then extraterrestrial life would be sufficiently common in such that it would be implausible not for it to have been detected. This is another thing that I've only just now I've started thinking about this thing, like questions to ask. So the Big Bang, what's the center of the Big Bang? Where did the universe start? Because we're told that the universe expands out from here, doesn't it?
Well, the weird thing about that is we look at all these galaxies and they say, well, they're redshifted away from us. So that means all these galaxies are moving away from us.
Yeah.
Which is weird because surely, like, if we've all come from one central point, wouldn't there be some galaxies you can go, oh yeah, they're running parallel to us, and oh, this one's coming a bit closer to us,
Well,
but no, they're all
what
red.
I'm actually saying, Hobbit, is that if we're the center of the universe and the universe expands out from here, then that would make us the oldest civilization, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so that's one of the answers.
Why are we expecting all life out there to have expanded quicker than we have? To have got to like faster than light travel before we do, or gravity bending or whatever.
Yeah, so one of the answers to the Fermi paradox is maybe we're one of, if not the oldest intelligent life in the universe, which to me doesn't seem like a very satisfactory answer for the Fermi paradox.
But it's also
Because,
based on the Big Bang, which is pretty shaky anyway, isn't it? At the best of times.
well, like so the idea of the Big Bang, um, I'm not too sure. I don't think it's like the most convincing answer to the where the universe came to be. It's not really something I give much thought, to be honest, because it's like, well, the universe is, regardless of
Let's try
how I
another way.
ponder
Okay,
it or not.
let's assume the universe went bang, came into existence all the same time. So everybody's starting from the same point, but we're on different planets. What would
Yeah.
be the conditions that would make them be able to achieve space travel quicker than us?
Oh, right. So, you know, we came on Earth relatively recently in comparison to how long the Earth's been around.
Yeah,
And it's only been in the past few centuries where our technology's got, well, I'd say pretty advanced. I mean, we've got electronics and telescopes and
yeah. But
microscopes. You know, we
space wise, we've been fucking spinning our wheels for no, was it 1969? Since 1969, so a good 50.
but
We've
what
got a good 55 years. We've been spinning our fucking wheels, haven't we?
but what I'm trying to say is, for thousands of years, we were bashing rocks together.
Hmm.
And then a few thousand years ago, we figured out, hey, some of these rocks around the camp, they give off these shiny metal beads when we do them. And then from that, we've got like chemistry, metallurgy, bridges, Romans, and oh, now we've got like canals and bridges are actually pretty. And now we've got telecommunications and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, even for our time, it's like we've only recently come across this stuff, and we've just barely done space travel. So what I'm saying is, imagine if there was like, even if there's like one race very similar to us, like another sort of creature very similar to us, but instead of like, doing the bashing rocks and the Romans and all that, what have you, they did that like 1,000 years ago. So they're now like 1,000 years more advanced than we are.
Yeah,
Assuming that they're just like we are, except that they got ahead 1,000 years ago.
they didn't bother with the war thing and decided to
Mm,
work with each other instead.
yeah, yeah.
But then again, like war has been a big mover of technology for us as a civilization, hasn't it?
Well, okay. So, can I actually are you on that?
Yeah, go on. You got
Hang
actually
on.
you got to know it's porn, Hemi.
Yeah, yeah, but uh, hey, look, is Israel JIDF? I know you're a bit busy at the moment, but if you're willing to throw a couple of shekels around, I will write my thesis on how porn advances
Raid
technology.
Shadow Legends.
Yeah, yeah. Of s-
So
s-
okay then. So this other civilization. So they do VHS, Blu-ray, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, and then they go
mm,
right. What we've got to do is we've got to find porn on other. We need more excessive porn. So we're going to go for porn on other worlds. And that's
what
how
we
they go.
need
That's how they invent space travel. We
what
need
we need
body
is
blues. Fuck as many aliens as she can challenge. Is that what you're saying of it?
what we need is a hyperspace corridor to Earth, so that we can get Earth porn,
Yeah.
and that way, we'll put the Earth porn in our porn, and so they've had a big like crash building project, and they're building basically. You ever seen Stargate? They've built a
Yeah.
Stargate to our world, and just specifically so they can come in and they can steal our
They found a
porn.
Bonnie. They
Well,
found a
not
Bonnie Blue broadcast.
instead of saying "take me to your leader," it's like "take me to your porn."
Take me to your biggest
Porn.
slut.
Take me to your bongo mags.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Right. So here's actually on why war is not the great driver of things. So here's the thing, right? You need peacetime for people to go like, well, because the problem with war is a lot of people are dying and buildings are being blown up, and people like to. Here's two things you need for research. You need people that are alive to do it, specifically men, specifically
Highlight
genius
human.
men.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need genius men to be around, and these genius men, right? They can't just like bash rocks out in the field. They need a building, typically a laboratory. That's
Yeah.
that's where the sciencing is done in the science place in the laboratory. And if you've got a war, there will be science people in science places in armored laboratories,
Yeah.
but other laboratories tend to get blown up, and it's like,
Or
oh
in
no, all my
tunnels.
work's been
Deep underground
yeah,
military bases.
all my work has been blown up. So um, you need a bit of peacetime so that people can actually work on theories. And then when there's war, right, you got all this money and resource, and they go, right, is there any of this like theoretical can help us make new weapons and help us in the war? And then they go, well, look, this isn't a weapon, but we got a thing here which will be able to give you intelligence. It's called radar. Oh, okay. What's that then? Well, it'll allow you to see things over the horizon. Right, we're interested. What do you need for it? Well, we're going to need some manufacturing, and this is the electronics involved. So, can we have an electronics? Yeah. How many men do you want for that? Oh, can we have like 10,000? Best we can do is give you 3,000. All right, well, we'll make you some radar systems and then you can try them out. And then, the military goes, yeah, we really like that radar system. Can you make us a bigger, better one? Yeah, okay. Can I have 10,000 men? Yeah, here you go. And so the thing is, right, in the war, it's not like, oh, I've just come up with this idea which is coming useful. I called it radar. See further. It's more a case of, well, I was working on this theory of it, and you've got money from scientists in the war. So can I have some money for my research, please? And they go, yeah, okay, here you go. All the thing is,
Can you argue like the state of our society is due to the fact we haven't had a fucking war in ages?
well, uh, I think people like Edward Dutton are the sort of people that speculate on that because they're saying that they got these, that you got these. Right, I'm going to use a no-no word here, but that's okay because Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah.
There are eugenic factors in society and breeding,
Yeah.
and war, you could say, has probably got a eugenic factor in it. I'm not saying it makes
Actually, I've seen that
people.
one. Didn't he argue that war was dysgenic? He argued somehow that war
Uh,
was dysgenic somehow, but I can't remember.
yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people say that World War One was a
All
dysgenic
all
because,
your big brave people are at the front and they're doing stupid things and dying.
well, look, I mean, a lot of people, including Professor Tolkien, have said the best and most noble Europeans died in the fields of the Somme during that terrible war.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's but there's probably the eugenic argument of saying that uh, look, to be a bit vulgar about this, it makes the women horny because they're like, oh, I could be dead soon. A time to have some babies.
Yeah.
I
But you obviously
I
also
don't
get
know
the
how that.
boom. You get the boom when they come back as well, don't you? When all the
Yeah,
heroes
yeah,
come
because
back.
they're just like, oh, well, look, a lot of people have died now. Shall we have some babies? Shall we have a
Yeah.
family now that the war's over? There's that, but so right. There's a bit more in that article that Fermi Paradox. So there's chain of reasoning. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is the chain of reasoning of the Fermi Paradox. There is billions of stars in the Milky Way, which, and some of them, they've got to be similar to the Sun. With high probability, some of those stars, Earth-like planets, and
Yeah,
then
but
they're in
isn't
the
this on a faulty premise already? The premise that aliens, they're like alieny, aren't they? So they
right.
don't necessarily need
But,
exactly the same conditions as we do to create a society, do they?
okay, yeah, that's great. But if you're trying to make some filters and you're being be like, we know life occurs on our planet because it's got these factors.
Yeah,
What if we applied all the filters on our? Here's an example, right? Um, you and I, we get around using cars. I know you got you got a car as well. And if you're going on Auto Trader, right, you wouldn't start looking around skateboards or rollerblades, even though they can get you around.
yeah.
You'd be looking for a car. You wouldn't look for a moped either. But I mean, a moped gets you around, and that's got a motor in it. So what I'm saying is, it's like you go on Auto Trader and you're looking for cars, somewhere between 10 to 20 years old, got a turbo diesel in them. They're a Volvo. Oh wait, I'm not Jeff. You've got your filters. You start being conservative. You don't just go like, oh, I kind of like the look of that dildo on wheels. Also known as the Jaguar. So,
I've got a small Winky. I need to buy a big car.
uh, well, I mean, the Jaguar I-Pace is a beast, but like all of the cars these days, they suffer from morbid obesity. But that's because they've got big batteries in. Right. So let's go through this chain of reasoning because I think it is a pretty good premise. It sort of sets that up. Billions of stars in the Milky Way. Some of them. Oh no, there are billions of stars in the Milky Way that are similar to our sun. With a high probability, some of these stars, Earth-like, circumstellar habitable zone, also known as the Goldilocks zone. It's not too hot, not too cold. And when we're saying it's a habitable zone, what people are saying is this is the zone where water, because we've got it established like where you got liquid. Many of these stars, and hence their planets, are much older than the sun. If Earth-like planets are typical, some may have developed intelligent life ago. Some of these civilizations, they may have done travel, a step which humans are investigating. Because Fermi was back in the 20th century. We've got we haven't got interstellar travel. We've got interplanetary travel at best at the moment.
Well,
Many
we've
of
got
these
that,
stars,
haven't
and
we?
hence their
Into
yeah.
moon travel. Is what we've got.
Well, yeah, but at one point you were probes to Mars and Venus and Jupiter and what have you, and
Well,
so the what?
Vija's still out there, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So at one point, we are. So even at the slow pace of envisioned into the Milky Way galaxy could be completely traversed in a few million years. Since many of the sun-like stars are billions of years older than our sun, the Earth should already been visited by extraterrestrial civilizations, or at least their probes.
Well,
However,
so you
there is
see
no
our
convincing it.
discussion 5 minutes ago as to why necessarily
Yeah,
we don't necessarily
yeah.
have to have been visited by them.
Well, the other bit which I could argue is an interstellar probe is there's this asteroid, and they gave it a stupid Hawaiian name, Oumuamua, because you've got a click click dirk dirk language where you have to repeat words over and over
Yeah,
again, like peri peri chicken,
yeah.
or the disease you get, which is similar to Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease called beriberi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's eating
the
dead people, isn't
wonderful.
it?
Well, it's from cannibalism. If
Yeah.
if you're eating brain stems of people, you will get similar to BSE or scrapie. You will get a nasty
Do you remember
disease.
when John
Uh,
Selman Gummer force fed his kid that burger? Get that fucking burger down your neck, bitch.
oh, was this during the BSE
Yeah,
crisis?
yeah.
And
Do you remember him
uh,
force feeding his daughter that burger?
yeah, really. No, I remember the BSE stuff at the time, and I just thought to myself, "Wow, they're to be vegetarian." I was watching a lot of Captain Planet at the time, and I thought, God, I hate this show. This is really boring. This show's so boring, and it's like because I was a
I
kid
used
and
to
didn't
watch
have.
it. I did. I used to watch it. I used to think this superhero is rubbish.
Well, there was even bits when I was
He don't
watching it,
even
and I was
punch
just
anyone.
thinking.
Like he's rubbish. He don't even punch anyone.
Well, I was watching the show, and I was just thinking to myself, "Hey, there's this kid, and his special power is heart. It's like what is the power that you can cry about the earth and makes people feel slightly sad.
Well,
That's
he
not
turns
much
into
of a
Michael
power.
Jackson and sings the Earth song.
Well, there's a thing, right? There's an actual very own episode about stupid weedy kid has a cry because his power's not that good, and all the other powers are just like, oh, without heart, we don't have you to moderate, get a bit mean. So actually, no, we need you around to be the mascot for the team. And he's like, oh, so I'm not just a useless crybaby. Well, you are,
Yeah, you are,
but
but
we also
we are, but
we,
we're
we,
pretending we need you.
you are, but without you, we can't summon Captain Planet. So can you come back, please?
Yeah.
We need Captain Planet. Yeah, oh, that was a crap show. The Fermi Paradox led to something called the Drake equation, and the Drake equation is brilliant, right? So, for those that know, n minus r, r has got a lowercase asterisk next to it, minus f lowercase p, minus n lowercase e, or subset e, minus fi minus fe minus l. So I don't actually know. Right. So what does this mean? N is the number of technologically advanced civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. N is asserted to be the product of R with the asterisks, the rate of formation of stars in the galaxy. FP, the fraction of those stars of planetary systems. NE, the number of planets per solar system with environments suitable for organic life. FL, the fraction of those suitable planets whereupon organic life appears. FI, the fraction of those life-bearing planets whereupon intelligent life appears. FE, the fraction of civilizations that reach the technological detectable signals may be displayed. And L, the length of time that those civilizations dispatch their signals. The fundamental problem is that the last four terms are entirely unknown, rendering statistical estimates impossible. So we don't know what fraction of those suitable planets does organic life appear. We don't know of those organic life planets
Well, I mean,
where
technically,
you
we
get
haven't
intelligent
really
life.
found one in the galaxy yet, have we?
Well, the thing is, the speculation that Europa, which is one of the moons of Jupiter, and I think Enceladus.
I
But
know there's speculation, but we haven't actually physically found it yet. Not even a microbe, have
well,
we? Technically.
well, use Europa and Enceladus may be candidates for life, although they
Yeah,
probably wouldn't be
but
intelligent life.
that'll be kind
Probably
of
be
like sea, like
simple.
fishes and stuff, won't it?
Well, they say it probably won't even be that. They'll probably just be like bacteria,
Yeah.
just simple bacteria that live in the liquid ocean as opposed to the solid ocean. The
Yeah,
liquid
because
core of
it's liquid stuff, isn't
Europa.
it? It's not water, is it?
Yeah. No, it is
Oh, it
water.
is water, is it?
Europa. Yeah, so Europa has got a solid ice crust, but the tides from Jupiter keep the core liquid, and they did some scans of it, confirmed that and it's got, you know how like on our planet we got volcanoes spew out lava,
Yeah.
and the lava's just liquid rock. Well, Europa's got ice volcanoes, and they spew out liquid water. So there is liquid water underneath the
What's the
surface.
atmosphere on there, though? It's not oxygen,
I
is it?
don't know if Europa's got an atmosphere. It might have a very thin one, but Enceladus does have a thick atmosphere. Um, here's a bit which I think you might want to read. Um, wrong window.
Right, so
Here's the
Europa
one.
has a very thin
Hypothet.
atmosphere, primarily
Yeah,
composed of molecular oxygen, with surface pressure
yeah.
about 100 billionth that of Earth's. The atmosphere is produced through non biological processes such as the interaction of solar radiation with its icy surface, and is continuously replenished as hydrogen escapes into space.
So, what you're saying there is, as the ice sublimates into the vacuum of space, the hydrogen is too the hydrogen's too light; it just blows off.
Yep.
But the oxygen, a little trace of it, then goes around the surface. He says they're chewing a mouthful of sultanas. I thought they're raisins. But do you want to read the hypothetical explanations for the paradox? Because that'll give me a chance to chew in peace.
What's this? Those who think that intelligent extraterrestrial life is nearly impossible argue that conditions needed for the evolution of life, or at least the evolution of biological complexity, are rare or even unique to Earth. Under this assumption called rare Earth hypothesis, a rejection of the mediocrity principle, complex multicellular life is regarded as exceedingly unusual. Rare Earth hypothesis argues that the evolution of biological complexity requires a host of fortuitous circumstances, such as a galactic habitable zone, a star, and planets having the requisite conditions, such as enough of a continuous habitable zone, the advantage of a giant guardian like Jupiter, and a large moon, conditions needed to ensure a planet has a magnetosphere and plate tectonics. The chemistry of the lithosphere, atmosphere, and oceans, the role of evolutionary pumps such as massive glaciation and rare bolide impacts. Perhaps the most importantly, advanced life needs whatever it was that led to the transition of some prokaryotic cells to eukaryotic cells, sexual reproduction, and the Cambrian. What's the Cambrian explosion then, Hobbit?
I can't remember. Oh, the Cambrian explosion is well, it's this period in Earth's history where we had some life, but then there's all this life came about in the Cambrian era, and so it's like ferns and dinosaurs and sharks and what have you. Well, no, the sharks were before the
So,
ferns.
in his book Wonderful Life, Stephen Jay Gould suggested that the tape of life were rewound to the time of the Cambrian explosion, and 1 or 2 tweaks made, human beings probably never would have evolved. Overthinkers such as Fontana, Buss, and Kaufman have written about the self-organising properties of life. Do you want me to carry on?
Yes, please.
Extraterrestrial. It is possible that even if complex life is common, intelligence and consequently civilization is not. While there are remote sensing techniques that could perhaps detect life-bearing planets without relying on the signs of technology, isn't this what Uri Geller was supposed to have done? Isn't it? We've spoke about remote sensing life-bearing planets before, haven't we?
Yeah. He's been in the news recently because he's using his mind-bending powers to send away the Iranian.
With Israel,
yeah, I wouldn't dare speculate as to how effective it is.
I'd say not. None of them have the ability to determine if any detected life is intelligent. This is sometimes referred to as the algae versus almanae problem. I think this is like waffle now, isn't it?
Well, that's the problem with all this stuff. It's just a lot of speculation, and you see, that's why I thought we'd start with the story time, because it seemed a bit more believable than all the spec. Because the problem with speculation is it's a bit dick teasing. It's like, oh come on, where are all the? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked that. You see, because a lot of people have speculate as to why these intelligent beings don't contact us.
Yeah, it's kind of like what was I thinking? I think it's kind of like the assumption that all life is going to start and carry on the same way. I just don't think. I just think like aliens are going to be aliens.
Well, that's why I like the story, you see, because they talk about the planet being alive and intelligent. Because it responds to what we do occasionally.
There is also the other story that aliens aren't aliens; they're just us from the future, aren't they?
No, I think they're non-human and I'm not saying like, oh, they're so evolved from what we are, they're no longer human. I'm saying that they were never human to begin with. They're what people would have called in olden days demons.
Yeah,
I mean, even the Palladians, they look like humans, but I don't know if they are. For all I know, the Palladians are putting that on like a mask because if they showed us their true form, we'd find them frightening, repulsive.
like V, like in V. Do you remember V?
Mm. Well, I'm thinking like in They Live.
Yeah. You never
You
seen
know,
V, have you? You know where the aliens are actually
uh,
lizards, but they put a fake skin on.
oh, you mean like what David Icke copied when
Yeah.
he was saying that the shape changing reptilians?
Mm.
Or maybe that's where V got the idea from. It's
No, V was in the
talking
eighties.
about reptilians.
That was when he was still. That was when David Icke was still a goalkeeper.
But what I'm saying is that David Icke came across this information later. He's not the first person to have speculated about shape changing reptilians ruling us, and
Yeah.
for all we know, they could be the remnants of the dinosaur. Because the dinosaurs emit. I mean, there's another
Well, there's all,
example of like.
that's the other theory, isn't there? That inside the Hollow Earth, people people evolved from dinosaurs, isn't there?
Well, the bit which I'm speculating about is like, well, look, here's the thing: we, if you believe the conventional science, it's just for the sake of a story. Let's just say we evolved from more primitive primates, and then because we got bigger brains and were able to form more complicated language and cooperation, and that's why we got civilization. What if the dinosaurs had like a similar evolution path where you got these more intelligent dinosaurs that did a similar sort of thing and they had technology? Well, they were hundreds of millions of years ago. Can you
Yeah.
imagine? Let's just say, short of a disaster, what will be like 100 millions of years from now? I mean, we might have even gone post-physical. But
Yeah.
post-physical is this thing where you transcend flesh and blood and you become a being of pure energy. I suppose much like the afterlife, where your soul goes
Yeah.
into heaven or hell, depending on what you've done. Um,
Well, could it be that like the lizard people are not are us from a different timeline where dinosaurs evolved instead of us? I mean, just because they're aliens, they're not necessarily going to tell us the truth about their origins, are they?
no, no, that's the problem. You can take people at face value, but really, it's like, well, what's their agenda, and if they're alien,
Mm.
because it's alien, and until you sort of build up a predictable series of patterns. And we even have it like with humans, like we got great misunderstanding amongst different races of humans because, like, um, okay, we can probably say this now. Uh, the Chinese, I like the Chinese. I think they're all right. So YouTube,
Well, I was
yeah,
gonna.
not being racist,
I have a far more YouTube friendly story to
yeah,
tell about this. It's in
yeah,
the Greeks. So you know when someone says, "Do you want a drink?" and you put your hand up and say, "No, thanks."
yeah.
To the Greeks, if you put your hand up like that, it's like a massive curse. Literally, like a fuck you to them.
Ah, you're showing the evil eye.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like that's probably a better example of like how things
yeah.
can be like misunderstood, isn't it?
Well, the reason I'm saying with the Chinese is because some of the things they do, and I have friends amongst the Chinese. Okay, yeah, not triad. Just saying, I've got friends amongst the Chinese. But some of the stuff they do to me is utterly incomprehensible, and I would go so far as to say, well, they're alien. That's why the stuff they do is up. Like they do things which they see as perfectly normal, no big, and I look at it and I'm absolutely aghast. Like, how could you do such a thing? And
Yeah.
I've probably got a feeling like, there's probably a Chinaman somewhere, and he's reading about what's happening in the West and in Europe, and he's going like, "My God, they're insane. They must be insane. How can they carry on doing this stuff? I have no idea. I can't understand them. They." So this is even amongst humans, right? Where
Mm.
I would say some people are unfathomable because we look at them and you go, well. we've tried to teach you to do this thing over and over again, and every time you just fuck it up. Like, we're not saying you're stupid because, like, um, namby-pamby about things now. So we must say maybe there must be a failure to communicate. And it's just like, no, it's just like, like, we can't accept that not every human is the same, and that different races of humans, they're aliens. So how can you fathom like a non-human? We may never know what may never, because what I'm trying to say is we have a hard time understanding our neighbours, yet alone someone that's non-human.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see something here about aardvarks. Charles Linweaver states that when considering any extreme trait in an animal, intermediate stages do not necessarily produce inevitable outcomes. For example, large brains are no more inevitable or convergent than long noses.
What about duck-billed
As he,
platypuses? Explain those fuckers.
oh no, that's an anomaly. As he points out, dolphins have had 20 million years to build a radio, but not done so. Yeah, the lazy fuckers.
You know that.
In addition,
or as Rick said in The Young Ones, who invented the internal combustion engine? Was it Porgy the Pig?
no, it wasn't a bloody elephant either.
Or a dolphin?
Yeah, has weird polar. I'm telling a friend about honey being polarized, polarization, and I think that was the physics explanation of how it's 163%, 163, 100, how it's 1.63. Oh, I can't 63 times sweeter than sugar. Right. So, what? There's another bit here. 20 million years to build a radio telescope, and the lazy bastards they haven't done so. In addition, Rebecca Boyle.
Fucking water.
Yeah.
Remember
Rebecca Boyle.
the fish, where the dolphin.
Yeah, lazy bastards.
Oh,
In addition, Rebecca Boyle. Now, this article doesn't state whether or not she's related to Susan Boyle. But anyway, so there's this woman called Rebecca Boyle, and she points
Danny
out
Boyle.
that all
Danny
this.
Boyle,
Yeah.
director of Sunshine.
Or Frankie Boyle, recovered alcoholic and boring
No,
man.
you're not biting on that one, Hobbit.
Rebecca Boyle points out all the species have evolved in the history of life on planet Earth. Only one, human beings, and only in beginning stages have ever become spacefaring. Oh, well, that's a really useful insight, Rebecca Boyle. Thanks for that. Oh, have you noticed this thing here? Yes, we have noticed, Rebecca Boyle. And there's even a citation, 90. Galaxy simulations offer a new solution to the Fermi Paradox. Quantum Magazine, Abstraction Blog, Rebecca Boyle, March 7, 2019.
Quantum bollocks. The god
So,
of the gaps, the quantum. Isn't it?
the Sun has been around the centre of the Milky Way 50 times, said Jonathan Carroll Nellenbach, astronomer at the University of Rochester. So, oh, okay. Yeah, so my friend says the wrong chirality of glucose isn't poisonous, but it can't be digestible since the enzyme that breaks down normal glucose is picky about it. I imagine due to the ion channels being simpler than enzymes, that it'd still taste sweet. So maybe an artificial sweetener that tastes just like sugar because it is sugar, but you can't digest it as you stated. Right, so that was an interesting thing. I always like a bit of on the yeah, so left-handed glucose does not occur naturally in living organisms, but it can be synthesized in the laboratory. L-glucose is indistinguishable in taste from right-handed glucose. Oh, there we go. Right, cool. So you could have an artificially sweetened stuff with actual glucose,
But didn't you
but
say
you wouldn't be
something
able to
about it
digest
being
it.
not digestible?
Yeah, no. So a friend said here, I looked it up. The wrong chirality of glucose isn't poisonous, but it can't be digested by us since the enzyme that breaks down normal glucose is picky about it. Yeah. Um, so a lot of people say, I say a lot of people, one of the popular Fermi Paradox explanations is periodic extinction by natural events. New life might commonly die out due to runaway or cooling on their fledgling planets. On Earth, there have been numerous major extinction events that have destroyed the majority of complex species alive at the time. The extinction of the non-avian dinosaur is the best known example. There are thought to have been caused by events such as an impact from a meteor or massive volcanic eruptions or astronomical events such as gamma ray
So
bursts.
is this the new theory as to how the dinosaurs were wiped out? Then a gamma um, burst.
Well, the thing is, people know about when supernovas go off, but yeah, like if there's a supernova, I think a supernova lasts a few days or because yeah, it's an explosion, but because it's such a few days finish, there's a big burst of energy, including X-rays and gamma rays, and yeah, because the Earth rotates every 24 hours, that's enough time to irradiate all life on Earth. So yeah, that gamma ray burst could do that. It may be the case that such an extinction event, common throughout the universe, and they periodically destroy intelligence, or at least civilizations, before its species is able to develop the technology to communicate with other intelligence. However, the chance of extinction by natural events may be low on civilization's lifetime. Based on analysis of impact craters on Earth and the Moon, the average
Dom
interval
says
between
Hobbit
it.
has friends in Xi Jinping's cabinet. Confirmed. You heard it here first.
Well, look, I am looking to branch out. So JIDF, if you're willing to pay me to post stuff,
We
I
already
will
like
say
you'd take pay in SodaStream, wouldn't you?
SodaStream, yeah, or Raid Shadow Legends premium currency. If can that be exchanged for new
Dom
Israeli
also says
shekels?
Barry Scott created the universe with the Sillet Big Bang. Hey.
I am also willing to accept payments in new Israeli shekels as well, but I'll have to ask
And
my bank about
anyway, Hobbit,
um.
we know dinosaurs had a civilization because we've all seen the Jim Henson Fly on the Wall documentary series, as Dom says.
Yeah, that was
I've
you
never
know the
actually.
one where
I need to find the last episode and watch it because apparently the last episode is the extinction of the dinosaurs, isn't it?
I like there. It's not the Christmas episode because Jesus hasn't come yet,
Yeah.
but we're going to do a Christmas episode, and it's the one where Grandma Dinosaur tells them that they got to build a cold box. So it's a story about how the refrigerator was built, and that's what led to dinosaur civilization. Um, However, the chance of extinction by natural. Oh yeah, so we go. The average interval between impacts large enough to cause global consequences like the impact. That's a place in Mexico. As you can see, I'm very good at pronouncing Mexicanese.
Yeah.
Is estimated to be around 100 million years. Crater in Mexico. The impact. Right, let me spell this out for people that want to pronounce it at home. CHI, so that's a chi sound.
Yeah.
CXU, so that's the qu, and then it's LUB, lub. So it's chi lub impact.
Those Klingon lessons have been doing you wonders of it.
I thought I was speaking Welsh.
Conversational Klingon. Can't you do a degree in conversational Klingon now?
I think you can do a degree in conversational Welsh.
Nah, don't be stupid.
Chlorine, and then you end up with sucralose. That one doesn't give me a headache. Aspartame does. But aspartame, that's not something that's to do with the Fermi Paradox.
No.
There's evolutionary explanations. Intelligent species not developed advanced. Well, we know that's not true because we're an intelligent species and we develop. I'd say our technology is pretty advanced.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
digital
we
watch was
got
a
some.
really neat thing. Do you remember that one from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Yeah.
Galaxy?
Well, I've got in my hands a lost from a bygone time. It's called a Timex Indiglo watch, and what it is you press a button on it and it glows with a blue. It's probably some sort of variant on fluorescent technology, but it's incredibly efficient because it runs on a watch battery and it doesn't drain it. Great stuff, brilliant. Really, I've always wanted a Timex Expedition watch, and I've got one. Um, so what we got? It's nature of intelligent life to destroy itself. Well, there's negative Nancy there.
That's
It is the nature of intelligent life to destroy others. Well, that's called having a bit of fun. Civilizations only brought.
do you remember when Stephen Hawking said for fuck's sake stop throwing signals out there? You remember what happened to the American Indians?
Yeah, but they weren't saying, wampum, smoke a peace pipe, come over here. But that's not how. We didn't know they were here. When we came up on. All right.
Well,
So.
I think it's more like we'd end up on the receiving end of selling our land for firewater.
Well, here's a pretty good one, right? Civilizations only broadcast detectable signals for a brief period of time, and it's not because like, oh well, we're getting all like emo now, and we're not doing radio broadcasts. No, so um,
Oh Jesus! Imagine being an alien and your idea of our intelligent life is local radio DJs.
yeah, in the 2006 Sky and Telescope, or they're watching the QVC channel,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're like, what the fuck is this? I don't know what it is, but I want a slap chop now.
But when a buy
Uh,
look at that! Look at that big slipper. You can put both of your feet in there.
I like there's that Futurama episode, and there's this aliens that are getting signals from 1,000 years ago about Ally McBeal or something, and they're very angry because there was like a solar flare or something which disrupted their transmission of the last Beale.
Oh shit! Yeah,
So
and then Fry has to recreate it, doesn't he?
yeah. Otherwise, they come and invade Earth. We demand the last episode.
That's the one who's going to eat everybody, isn't it? I can't remember his name.
Glorgabar, but I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, but he's got a. We demand the last episode of Ally McBeal, or we will destroy the planet Earth. So in the 2006 Sky and Telescope article,
a dated reference in a sci-fi show.
yeah. In 2006 Sky and Telescope article, Seth Shostak wrote. Moreover, radio leakage from a planet is. I'm really good at pronouncing names, aren't I? Everyone's
leakage from a planet. That's not very good, is it?
Yeah. From a planet, it's only likely to get weaker as the civilization advances. Communications technology is better. Earth itself is increasingly switching from broadcast to leakage-free cables and fiber optic, and from primitive but obvious carrier wave broadcasts to subtler, hard to recognize spread spectrum transmissions. Right. So here's the thing. Early broadcasts, right? They used high power AM signals to be heard from like hundreds of miles away. And those are the sort of things that can propagate into space quite easily. And because it's an AM signal, it's pretty easy to sort of go, oh yeah, that's.
So
you need a very
old episodes of Dick Barton, then, are they?
Well, the other thing about AM is it's because it's a low bandwidth thing. It's pretty easy to pick it out. But you see, yeah, because it's susceptible to noise. But something like a more advanced, like an FM signal, frequency modulation decoding. So that's already that might to a lot of people might just sound like random noise. Yeah. But the other thing is, now we use because we still do one.
They picked up that FM signal from Ganymede, didn't they?
Yeah, but that was a high power FM signal, and also Ganymede is like our next door neighbour. We
Was
haven't
it like
picked up any.
Ganymede's version of Smashy and Nicey as Backward Turner Overdrive, mate?
Well, I think it was more Ganymede's version of a two-way radio. And like, oh, we've, the terrorists win. We've planted the bomb. Evacuate site. For some reason, I'm just thinking it's Counter Strike, but on Ganymede. Um, but what I'm trying to say is, now we still use wireless technology, but in the case of Wi-Fi, I mean, good luck trying to get a signal from like more than 50 foot away, because it's the signal attenuates so much. And that's the other thing. The higher bandwidth we do and the higher frequencies we do, the more the harder it is to detect something. So here's the thing. uh, when we do compression, it makes it look very similar to noise, and you need a very clear channel in order to broadcast it, and it can't go a long distance unless you got like clever technology like fiber optics to do it. Because the thing with compression is you're taking away regular repeating patterns, because every time there's a regular repeating pattern, you can write an algorithm to say, oh well, compress all those regular repeating patterns into just this one cipher, and that'll represent all of it. That's like, I'm doing a simple, but what I'm trying to
Well,
say there is
did the aliens
we're
catch a
sending.
stray? So like Sky TV, like is broadcasting by satellite, or it used to.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's scrambled.
yeah, are the aliens likely to catch a stray from that? Are they?
Well, the thing is, already with Sky TV, yeah, in theory, there might be a little trace of that signal, but it'll be so close to noise by the time it gets anywhere like close to this stuff that you might as well say, oh well, it's not really going to be picked up.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, like, already now, we've, in the space of about 80 years, we've gone quite easy to pick up signals from a long way away to, you'd have to have very specialized and very sensitive equipment to pick up the signal. And even then, you wouldn't be able to understand it, because it's not that it's encrypted. It's just when you compress stuff, it makes it encrypted unless you know how to do the decompression algorithm.
yeah,
Um, so, for example, like if you got a WinRAR file, that would be incompatible with 7-zip. The only reason 7-zip can decompress a RAR archive is because it's got the decoding cipher.
yeah,
Um, so there's an example, right? I've got subtler, hard to recognize spread spectrum transmission. Well, that's the other thing as well. Like with AM, when you're transmitting it, you tune the dial to a band, and then eventually I'm now to explain this to people never used an radio before. You sort of go, oh, that's a bit fuzzy. Let's tune it to get a better signal, and then eventually you
Well,
sort of get
imagine
the
my
sweet
mate
spot.
that threw himself into a circular argument because he said to the kids, oh, when I was a kid, we used to have cassettes, and then they go, Dad, what's a cassette? So he goes, well, it's like a big version of a VHS, and then they go, what's a VHS? Like a little version of
Yeah,
a VHS or something. Yeah,
but for those of you that aren't familiar with tuning into a station, you turn your tuning dial across the
oh,
radio, and
they were
then
the
you'd
days when
have
you
a
had the big old dial and you swing it around.
yeah, and you'd have a needle on it, which was indicating position in the what frequency you're at, and then eventually you'd come across a station and you go, "Oh, fuzzy," and then you sort of finally tune it in, and you'd sort of wiggle the dial back and forth until you go, yeah, that's as good as I can get it.
Or if you're really posh, you had that, and then you had like the other one that like dialed it in, didn't you? If you had like a posh stereo, like you do
Well,
it rough,
my
and then there's like a fine tuning as well.
my dad's got this quad FM receiver, and FM, you'll get stereo on it. Well, there is AM, but that's sort of like a bit that's not really part pertinent. Anyway, the FM stereo, the really good way you could see to balance was it would have a left channel and the right channel light bulb, and these
Yes.
light bulbs would glow And when you can see that the glow of these bulbs was the same brightness, you know that you've got it right smack dab in the middle. And the reason behind that is just the case of, yeah, it turns out people's eyesight is really sensitive, and that's a good way to do the tuning. Um, the other way people would do it as well is instead of using two light bulbs which glow, they would have like a stereo which would go left and right, showing like what's got the stronger signal, and you keep twiddling the dial until you got that needle to go in the middle. It was
And
quite
with the
fun
later
doing
digital
all.
ones, you got signal bars and things like that as well, don't you?
Yeah, the signal bars. Well, we got them on mobile phones. You get closer to
They kind of,
getting
I
a
mean, to be honest,
better in
phone
there.
signal's kind of irrelevant these days, isn't it? Because it's all done off of Wi-Fi anyway, isn't it?
The phone signal's just a random number generator. It might as well be because it's got
Yeah.
fuck all relation to what the signal is. But anyway, the Fermi Paradox is a bit weird. The aliens, they're a bit sort of clandestine because they got to be around, right? But they don't want to talk to us for whatever reason. Well,
Well,
maybe they're just looking
the
at
problem
TikTok.
being is we've been shouting out into the void for probably what 50 years now, since the first radio broadcast. Like, if if Stephen Hawking's
Oh,
correct, it's going to be a slaughter if we
is
don't
it?
pick it up.
I know we got to wrap the show up
Yeah,
soon enough, but it's like, look, I don't, I don't. It's like 4chan, for example. The vast majority of people that use 4chan, they read it. They don't really write anything,
yeah.
and or maybe they'll write one or two posts, and that's it, and then they'll go away. Well, it might be the same with the aliens. There might be where an alien on the internet, you don't realise what you're talking with is a non-human intelligence, and you sort of dismiss it and just go, "Oh, that was the bit incomprehensible." And you just sort of dismiss it and carry on. But that might be how the aliens are working, where they're just going like, "Well, this isn't really my forum. I'll just ask one or two questions and see what response is like." So
They literally lurk more.
yeah, but they took the lurk more and they made it a motto. For what? So every single alien's well, no, it can't be because I'm thinking there's like stories of demons in the past and the Olympian gods and the Norse gods, and I mean they might be alien,
Yeah.
and so there was a time when they were a lot more interactive with it, but the speculation is Jesus Christ put an end to that. Here's just an interesting little side. I read it recently. I think it was Thomas Locke. He was writing about the fall of the Roman Empire or something. I'm probably getting the story wrong, but anyway, he wrote like, "Oh yeah, when Jesus came back from the dead, the Oracle of Delphi and all these other they were no longer able to commune with the gods because Jesus had sealed them all up in hell, and then they were no longer able to interfere with human affairs.
Ooh.
So maybe Jesus Christ and what he did is the reason why these aliens interfere with us, and that there'll be a few people say, "Oh, look, they're around," probed me, and he just we laugh them off as crackpots.
Well, they do like to anal probe a hillbilly, don't they?
Well, you've got to have some fun somehow, right?
Yeah. I saw a thing with Travis Walton the
Hey,
other day. You heard of Travis Walton?
just briefly going back to the Simpsons of Futurama, right? I like that episode where Kang and Kodos kidnap Homer, and then they spray him with rum before kicking him out. It's like, hey, why are you spraying me with rum? That way, no one will believe you if you told them you were abducted by us. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how
Oh,
easy it is to debunk. Just anybody can go. He was a drunk, and then that's it. That's the end of your. That's the end of your story. It's done now. You know
um,
you
I
get
got to
away
say
with
my
it.
favourite Kang and Kodos one. It was a Treehouse of Horror, and I think it was basically They Live, but a Simpsons version. And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, these both the presidential candidates, they're just Kodos. It's like, well, what do we do if that's the only two choices we got? And then Homer goes, we could vote for a third party that's human. It's like, and then the Kankos, they're laughing, going, yes, puny human, waste your vote on the third party. Ha 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 ha. And then it's like they just, they're all working as slaves for Kang and Kodos, and then they're getting whipped, and then Home's like, "Oh, don't look at me! I voted for Kang."
Gem when the Treehouse Horror used to be funny.
Do you remember when Simpsons was like that? I missed that show. That was good when it was on.
Yeah, it's not on anymore. It's a shame, isn't it?
Well, they had a good run. I think they did like 10 series, and then after that, it's
I
wrapping
thought
up.
they did 3.
Yeah, well, some people say they only did 3. I thought no, they did 10. They did 10 series. Yeah, yeah, they did 10 series, and then they did no more Simpsons. But people were like, yeah, but we really like the Simpsons, and we'd like some more of it. It's like, no, we're just going to close it here before the show goes downhill.
Yeah.
And I think people would agree they did the right thing.
Speaking of going downhill, have you watched the
Fortean Words
King
recently.
King of the Hill remake?
I try not to. I, I I liked Beavis and Butthead, and I thought the new Beavis and Butthead was great, especially when Beavis and Butthead reviewed Wet Ass Pussy, or the UFO song we
Yeah.
love here in Fortean Towers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so we done for another week?
I would say so.
Yeah. Go away now, etc., etc.
That's it. Oh, and
Right.
stay spooky.
Oh yeah, stay spooky.
Don't forget to be